Okay, so let's start Siman Mem Vov, a new topic now. Hilchas Birchas Hashachar and Shah Brachas, a very interesting, very relevant, important halachas. Okay, Dinei Birchas Hashachar. Now, this halacha, we'll see, what we're going to say is that you make all of the brachas that we're familiar with, that we say when we get to shul, back in the day, based on the Gemara, that you would make these brachas as and when you were doing each activity. We'll see in the halacha base, Hashem, next week, that nowadays we that's not our minhag. But based on the Gemara, and this is what the Shulchan Orach says, this is what the minhag used to be. Halacha Aleph, Kasheyer Mishenosa, when a person wakes up in the morning, Yomar Elokai Neshama, he says Elokai Neshama, Kasheyishma Kol Hatarnagol, when he hears the voice of the cockerel crowing, Yevarech Hanoisin Lasechvi Bina, he makes that bracha. Kashelovesh, when he gets dressed, Yevarech Malbish Arumim, he makes the bracha of Malbish Arumim. Kasheyaniach Yodov Al Einov, when he wipes away the sleep from his eye, Yevarech Pekeach Ivrim. Kasheyeshev Yevarech Matzah Asurim. When he sits down, he makes the bracha of someone who releases those who are bound. Kashezoykef, when he sits up, so when he gets up, Yevarech Zoykef Kufufim. Kasheyaniach Raglov Ba'aretz, he puts his feet on the ground, Yevarech Roika Haaretz Al Hamoim. Kashenoel Minalav, when he puts his shoes on, Yevarech She'osali Kol Tzarki. Kashehoylech, when he then starts going out, walking, Yevarech Hamechin Mitzadei Gover. Kashechoiger Chagurai, when he puts his belt on, Yevarech Oizei Rabbi Gvura. Says the Ramah, Oilevish Avnet Hamafsik Ben Libel, he puts on some sort of belt. Kashemesim Kova, when he puts his hat on, Oimitz Nefes, or head covering. Barosha Yevarech Oite Yisra Basifara. Kasheyitel Yadav, when he washes his hands, Yevarech Al Nitras Yadayim. Kasheyirchatz Panov, when he washes his face, Yevarech Hamavir Sheina Me'enoi V'Hirotzoin Ad Baruch Ato Hashem Gomel Chasadim Tovim LaYisrael. And interestingly, Ein La'anos Omein Acha Hamavir Sheina Me'enoi. So after we say all our Birchas Hashachar, we say our brachas, then we say the bracha of Hamav Sheina Me'enoi, and we go straight into the Hirotza. And you shouldn't say Amen after Hamav Sheina Me'enoi, at Sheyachtoim HaGoyim Chasadim Tovim Lam Yisrael, Shakol Bracha Achasi. Because it's one long bracha, you only say Amen at the end of that long section of Goyim Chasadim Tovim Lam Yisrael. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah. Kasheyer, Sivkot Na'alef. Kol HaBrachos Ha'elu, Very interesting. You're not allowed to get any benefit from this world without making a bracha. Anyone who gets benefit from this world without making a bracha, it's as if he's over me'ila, which in English you translate as trespass. You have a spiritual trespass. It's not yours, it's like theft. To Romu Kradod, what's the background? There's a stira in the Psukim. Ksiv Lashem Haaretz Umloya, that everything belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yet, the Pasuk says that the world is given to human beings. So which one is it? Is it Lashem or is it Livnei Odom? But Tirtzu Lo Kasha, it's not a Kasha. Kan Koiden Bracha, Kan La'achar Bracha. It depends, before and after the Bracha, Rotzolema. Koiden Bracha, Hi Lashem. Before you make a Bracha, it belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's also like Hegdish, which is designated for the Beis HaMikdash, it belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And after you made the bracha, then it's sort of released and it becomes available for you. Therefore, since before the bracha it belongs to Hashem, it's as if it's me'ila, you're trespassing, it's violating, stealing, if it's you haven't said the bracha. Chachamenu zal bracha al kol davar v'davar me'en hagas ha'olam she'odam ne'eneren. Therefore, Chazal mesakin a bracha on every aspect of hana that we get. Okay, we say the Mechaber said that you say when you wake up, Yom Elokai Neshama, Rotzolema Davka Soif Sheinosai. Not if you wake up in the middle of the night and you turn over and you go back to bed. Then, not then. Obviously, Soif Sheinosai, just at the end of his sleep. V'loi Kozman Kashayoketz Be'ezeh Shashetzia. Not just time when you wake up. Yom Elokai Neshama. Interestingly, Tzorich lahafsik ma'at ben Elokai l'neshama. It's Elokai, comma, Neshama shenosatzabi, not Elokai Neshama. What's the problem? Kadei shelo yanishma shaneshama hi Elokav chas You're not saying Elokai Neshama. You're talking as if the Neshama is your God. So you've got to make a little comma, a little pause after Elokai Neshama. V'dinei Birchas Elokai Neshama ayin le'el b'simen vav Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Yud Beis. Okay, we did that already. Simen vav. Dalet la sechvi. Now this is very interesting. What does la sechvi mean? Hanoisin la sechvi vino la havchin ben yom v'layla. So he says two pshatim. Number one, halev shenikra sechvi b'loshen hamikra. It's referring to our heart. Our heart can discern the difference between day and night. Tichsiv, how do I know that the sechvi is called a heart? The lave is what understands. And then a person can discern between night and day. And since a tarnagol also understands the difference between day and night, we get there's an inference that we get some sort of hano when it becomes sort of day. In Arabic, you call a tarnagol, a chicken, a sechvi. We make umasakim when the tarnagol makes the noise in the morning when it becomes daytime. Therefore, we chazal umasakin it in that way. Okay, mal b'sharumim. Lav dafka sheyosh arim. Not that a person was sleeping in a state of undress and now he's dressed. Ela kiven she'odem lovish malbash o elyon. But since when a person puts on the rest of his clothes, mevarich brachazu, he makes the brach of malbash arumim because now he's dressed. He's fully dressed. Al einov, he wipes the sleep away from his eyes. Pirush alidei hacholok. Now he can't touch it with his fingers because at this point there's been no mention of doing negelvasa. Right, so he hasn't yet washed his hands, and if you have hands which have not yet been washed with negavasa, you can't touch any orifice and certainly your eyes. So therefore he says Pirush alidei hacholok, through some sort of cholok. Nowadays we wash our negavasa first thing in the morning, and then we wash our face and brush our teeth. But also he says the also haniach yodav al enov kodim hanatila, because you shouldn't put your hands over your eyes before the natila. Kameshakos of Simon Dalet. Okay, hamechin, but a good cause of ashehechin, different nusach, not hamechin, but ashehechin. Ha'avneit. Now it doesn't necessarily, what if you're not wearing a belt? So interestingly, he says, avneit ahocha hu mechnasayim. When it says avneit over here in the halacha, he's referring to trousers. V'chein ha'avneit shehiska shulchan aruch b'reish siman tzadi aleph. The afagav the beloshen Torah pirush avneit hu chageira. Even though when the Torah says an avneit, it means a belt. Kadichsiva v'avneit bad yachgar. Mikol makom beloshen chachomim lifomim keren ha'mechnasayim avneit. Sometimes the trousers are called the avneit. V'lokach nokat loshen loivesh v'loi chayger. And that's why he says you're loivesh the avneit, as in you sort of wear your trousers. Oite Yisrael. Now, a very interesting thing. All of a sudden, halfway through the brachas, you start mentioning Yisrael. Till now, it was everyone, the whole of humanity. So why? So says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Tes, Hizkir Yisrael bebrachazu v'chein ba'oize Yisrael ma she'en kein b'acheres hatam shahashar hu lahanos ha'olam. All the other brachas are universal. Sha'kol shovin bohem. Everyone is the same. Ma she'en kein be'elu shnaim. These two, b'Yisrael l'chud, they're specific for Klal Yisrael, mishum tznius. T'chageru hu mishum shelo yilibu ro'es ha'erva. We wear a belt that the lave shouldn't see the erva. For kova he mishum tznius, and the kova wearing a hat, a head covering of some sort, is also mishum tznius. Kadisa b'Shabbos daf kuf nun vav, kasi reishech mipnei emas t'morach. Cover your head, that you should have ema yira shamayim, that you should fear HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then lastly we said Yehirotzain, shetargileinu b'serosecha loshen rabim, which is a loshen rabim. Look at footnote 7. He says a very interesting thing. Why do we daven b'loshen rabim? V'tam hadava shetfilas hakavul rabim nemer b'loshen rabim. That because it applies individually as well. So why do we say b'loshen rabim? Kosav lekamon in tfilas haderech in Simon Kufyud she'atfila nishmas yoseh kashem meshatef atzma b'tfilei marabim. Tefillah is heard better, more effectively, if we wrap it up in Loshen Rabim than in Loshen Yachid. Okay, Mr. Shem will continue next week.